Shabbat Shalom. Good morning and welcome everyone. And Chag Sameach. Happy Simchat Torah and welcome to Temple Anshe Amunim. I'm Rabbi Liz Hirsch and I'm the rabbi here who's had the pleasure of getting to work with Gabe and Maddie in their preparations. We are so pleased to be together to celebrate the B'nai Mitzvah of Maddie and Gabe Henner. We're happy that family members have gathered here in our temple backyard safely and with all necessary precautions. We're so happy that friends, family, and temple members are joining us now on our live stream. We're together as one community in all the ways that we can be right now. Gabe and Maddie have worked so hard to reach this special day. A global pandemic will not stand in the way of them becoming B'nai Mitzvah, leading us in this service and reading out of the Torah for the first time. It's especially sweet that we celebrate their connection to Torah on Simchat Torah, our holiday that celebrates Torah. For those who are familiar with a Shabbat morning service or B'nai Mitzvah celebration, things may look and sound a little different this morning. That's due to the COVID precautions we needed to take, both for safety and for brevity of our service. There will be less singing than you might be used to, and there will be a little less closeness and proximity between people who don't live in the same house. We are so proud of Maddie and Gabe for persevering through it all, and we're proud of everything they've accomplished, even under challenging circumstances that brought us to this day. With that, I invite Gabe, Maddie, and their grandpa Bob for their Talit presentation.
Bless Adonai, O my soul, Adonai my God, how great you are. You are robed in glory and majesty, wrapping yourself in light as in a garment, spreading forth the heavens like a curtain. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher kiddushonu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivonu lehitatef b'tzitzis. Blessed art you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to wrap ourselves in the fringes. Great. Okay, thank you. Amen.
Beautiful, thank you. I now invite up Maddie and Gabe's Aunt Sue and Uncle Troy to share a reading.
For our teachers and their students, and the students of the students, we ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say, Amen. And for those who study Torah, here and everywhere, may they be blessed with all they need, and let us say, Amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say, Amen.
It's now the time in our service where Gabe and Maddie get to step up into a role of Shlichei Tzibor, the leaders of our community. Gabe and Maddie, I invite you forward to continue leading us in our service.
We continue with our central prayer of our faith, the Shema. Please rise as we turn to page 232. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. We continue with the Ve'ahavta on page 234.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadevarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam bam v'shiftecha bevetecha uvletecha baderech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu etotefot ben einecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha Leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yotem kedoshim Elohehem. Ani Adonai Elohehem asher hotzeitiechem me'eretz Mitzrayim l'chiyot lahem la'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem. Amen. We now invite Grandma Jackie to lead us on page 241.
The good in us will win over all the wickedness, over all the wrongs we have done. We will look back at the pages of written history and be amazed, and then we will laugh and sing. And the good that is in us, children in their cradles, will have won. Our hearts beat with certainty that there is a day and an hour and a mountain called Zion, and that all of the sufferings will gather there and become song, ringing out into every corner of the earth from end to end, and the nations will hear it. And like the caravans in the desert, we'll all to that morning throng.
We continue with the Amidah, beginning on page 242. Please rise. Adonai sefatai tifta ufi yagita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zoher Hastei Avot V'imaho Umevi Gua Livnei V'Nehem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Umoshia Umakin Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Bechayeh HaKol Atarav Levoshia Morid Hatol Mechachel Chaim Bechesed Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Ravim Somech Noflim Verofeh Holim Umatir Asurim Umekayem emunato Lishenei afar Mikamoha ba'agivuro Umido melah Melech memit umehayeh Umatmiya Yeshua V'neman ata hayotako Baruch ata Adonai Mehayeh hakol.
Please be seated. We continue with the reading for peace on page 259. We invite Diane to lead us.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the people of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within the borders, health, happiness within our homes, strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of the world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai. We bless your people with peace.
We continue now with a moment of silence for our own thoughts and prayers, or just to take a moment to ourselves, being out in nature to appreciate the sights and sounds around us, and to send blessings and messages to Gabe and Maddie. A moment of silence. We're going to continue now with our Torah service. So in a moment, I'm going to invite Gabe and Maddie forward once more to lead us in the opening liturgy to celebrate our Torah, which is especially significant, of course, on this day of Simchat Torah. Simchat Torah is the day we finish reading from our sacred scroll and immediately begin again with the first words. That's exactly what Gabe and Maddie will do today, and why we have two Torahs out here with us. I'll also be inviting up Nadine and Dave, who will be helping to physically pass our Torah on to their children, L'dor Vador, from generation to generation. Gabe and Maddie will then each continue with their Torah reading, with Gabe first reading from the end of the last chapter of the Torah, Deuteronomy 34, and Maddie will read the very first words of Breshit, Genesis chapter 1, the creation of the world. Our cycle of Torah continues and continues. Gabe and Maddie, Nadine and Dave, please come forward.
We continue on page 364 with our Torah service. Please rise as we lift our Torahs.
Like a baby, remember? From the bottom. That a girl.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. Udevar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah. Ve'emo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai iti Roma Shemo Yadav. Baruch Adonai Havorach. Baruch Adonai Havorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Havorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Vaya'al Moshe me'arvot Moab el har nevo rosh hapisga asher al panei Yericho. Vayarechu Adonai et kol haaretz et hagilad Adam ve'et kol Naphtali ve'et eretz Ephraim u'Manasseh ve'et eretz Yehuda ad hayam ha'aharon ve'et haneg ve'et ha'kikar bikat Yericho yir hatmrayim ad so. Vayomer Adonai el arzot haaretz asher mishpati Avraham veYitzhak veYaakov Lemor Lazaracha et Mena haritiha ve'einecha v'shama lo ta'avo. Vayamar Shama Moshe Eved Adonai ve'eretz Moab al pi Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah te'emet v'hayeh olam nata v'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Sorry, lost rhythm there for a second. Sorry.
Mazel tov, Gabe. We say together, Chazak, Hazak, V'nit Chazek. The words we say whenever we finish a Torah portion or our whole cycle of Torah. Be strong, and we strengthen one another. Now it's time to begin our Torah reading again, and it's your turn, Maddie.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu haTorato. Baruch atah Adonai naten haTorah.
Amen.
Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz ve'ha'aretz ha'ita tohu va'vohu ve'hoshe apanei tehom ve'ruah Elohim merehefet apanei hamayim ve'omer Elohim yahi or vayehi or Vayar Elohim et ha'or kitov Vayavdel Elohim bein ha'or uvein ha'hoshe. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah te'emet v'hayeh olam nata b'toheinu. Baruch atah Adonai naten haTorah.
Amen. Mazel tov, and congratulations to both of you. Great job. You can give each other a hug. It's okay. Yeah. Good job, and you're going to wrap up your Torahs. You did it. Awesome. Now we're going to invite up Alex, Gabe, and Max to read translations of your Torah portion. You guys can take a seat if you'd like.
Moses went straight up the steeps of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the summit of Pisgah, opposite Jericho, and the Eternal showed him the whole land. Gilead as far as Dan, as Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, the whole land of Judah as far as the West Sea, the Negev, and the plain, the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees as far as Zoar. And the Eternal said to him, this is the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will assign it to your offspring. I have let you see it with your own eyes, but you shall not cross there.
So Moses, the servant of the Eternal, died there, in the land of Moab. At the command of the Eternal, God buried him in the valley in the land of Moab, near Beth Peor, and no one knows his burial place to this day. Moses was 120 years old, and when he died, his eyes were undimmed and his vigor unabated. And the Israelites bewailed Moses in the steeps of Moab for 30 days. The period of wailing and mourning for Moses came to an end. Now Joshua, son of Nun, was filled with the spirit of wisdom because Moses had laid his hands upon him, and the Israelites heeded him, doing as the Eternal had commanded Moses. Never again did there arise in Israel a prophet like Moses, whom the Eternal singled out face to face for the various signs and portents that the Eternal sent him to display in the land of Egypt, against Pharaoh and all his courtiers and his whole country, and for all the great might and awesome power that Moses displayed before all Israel.
When God was about to create heaven and earth was a chaos unformed, and on the chaotic waters face there was darkness. Then God's Spirit glided over the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And when God saw how good the light was, God divided the light from the darkness. God then called the light day and called the darkness night, and there was evening and there was morning. The first day God then said, Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters. Let it divide water from water. So God made the expanse, separating the waters beneath the expanse from the waters above the expanse. And so it was. God then called the expanse sky, and there was evening and there was morning, a second day.
Thank you all so much. Always so nice and wonderful and special to hear the last words of our Torah read aloud and then the very first words read again. We're now going to invite up first Gabe and then Maddie to share some thoughts and reflections on their Torah portions and also on this process of becoming B'nai Mitzvah. Gabe?
The last chapter of the Torah is Vezot HaBracha, which is the Torah portion I have studied for my bar mitzvah. This Torah portion begins with the words Vezot HaBeracha, which means, and this is the blessing. This portion contains Moses' blessing over the 12 tribes of Israel at his death of 120 years old. God chose Moses to lead the Jewish people. Throughout his life, Moses worked on developing leadership skills. He learned to look past small struggles, rather than arguing, and eventually became a teacher, a moral guide, and a model for leadership. I think he probably lived by the belief, do some good. Like Moses, I will try to succeed at improving a situation when one arises, rather than doing battle with it. Everything the Torah tells us about Moses is a lesson in Jewish leadership. During my studies and preparation for this most important day, I have found a portion of a prayer that is so meaningful to me that it gives me goosebumps. When I hear the words in Mishabera that say, "May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing," I know this prayer will guide me to be a leader and just help make me make good decisions for my whole lifetime. Just that feeling that I pledge during my life, I will help those in need whenever I am able. It just really hits me that someone in my family, someone I know, or even someone I don't know may need healing, and I am singing a prayer of healing to let them know that I hope they are okay.
I know that this prayer will be in my heart and soul for the rest of my life. As I stand on the bima at this moment, I know I have the desire, like Moses, to be a leader in the Jewish faith. Standing up for what you believe in isn't always easy. I'm a leader, not a follower. And I know that I must always do the right thing and stand up for what I believe in. Moses was a man who lived his life always being a leader to the Jewish people. I know I will carry the legacy of my family and Jewish faith throughout my life footsteps and be a leader too. Throughout Moses' life, he had to look past the little things that didn't matter. He became a moral guide for people. Moses was always a leader to the Jewish religion. He had lots of struggles, but was able to overcome them, just like I try and overcome struggles or mistakes I have made in my life. I always keep something in the back of my head whenever I think I can't do something. I hear the words of my grandma Jackie saying to me during every Yankees game, "Never give up, Gabe. The game's not over till it's over." Now, Moses had that same mentality as well. Never give up, as he never would. He could be stranded in the desert. He could have no food or water. But Moses would never give up, and neither will I. I will always set my bar high for myself and try and go higher than my goal. The lessons from my Torah portion have given me great insight into being a leader and not a follower. Having studied about Moses, I understand I have an obligation and desire to carry on his legacy. My great-grandma Tilly has taught me the saying, "This too shall pass," meaning whenever you're going through a tough time or when the world seems to be spinning out of control, like now, I can rely on my strong Jewish faith to give me courage, strength, and a backbone to deal with whatever is presented to me. I don't have to be afraid. Preparing for my B'nai Mitzvah took lots of time. I started with my Hebrew tutor, Yael, who was here virtually. Thank you so much, Yael, for your patience and understanding through all these months. Thank you to my parents, who I credit my success for their constant nagging. Thank you to my grandparents, Aunt Sue, Uncle Troy, Caleb, and Max, for coming to see me today. I love you all. Tony, Susie, and Zach, I'm so happy you are here with me today. I'm so grateful for my friends and family who are watching on my own YouTube channel. As I stand here at this very moment, I am certain I have the desire and determination like Moses to be a leader in the Jewish faith. Standing up for your beliefs and being a leader is a choice, but one I know I will always make. Today I become a Jewish man, complete with the responsibilities that accompany this great honor. I stand before you accepting my faith and responsibilities wholeheartedly and with devout determination to take my place in the Jewish community. My Torah portion is Bereshit, the first portion in the book of Genesis. I think this is the most fitting portion for any bar or bat mitzvah. A little review of my portion. It contains the world coming into existence over 6 days and God resting on the seventh. In Bereshit, when God created the world and all of its creatures, day and night, and nature, God to it that it was good. However, when God created man and woman in God's image, God did not mention that they were good. God gave humans free will instead. Therefore, it is for us to determine by our actions if we will be good and how we choose to be good. Our actions towards each other in all the good things in the world that God created will ultimately determine if we are good. Part of being good is appreciating the beauty of the world around us. For example, look at the amazing foliage right around us in the Berkshires. One of God's beautiful creations right here where I live. It is important to appreciate the beauty of God's simple gifts. Another way to determine if we are good is how we treat vet people and God's creations around us. We must be good to earth, animals, and each other. One example of being good to each other is when I was mentoring kindergartners at Williams Elementary School. I helped the students who were anxious or stressed express their feelings. This made them feel better about themselves. My bat mitzvah is a new beginning, just like my Torah portion Berei sheet says. Moving forward, I will do my best to represent the Jewish community as a good person that respects those around me as well as the world and all its beauty. I would like to thank Yael, my fabulous and very patient tutor, for helping me. I would also like to thank Rabbi Liz for being so supportive and fun both in the classroom, at services, and virtually. Thank you to my family and friends who are here and watching virtually.
Thank you both so much for those beautiful teachings and words. Great job. It's now my pleasure to invite up Nadine and Dave, your very proud parents, to share some words with the two of you.
I'm so proud of you both. Despite dealing with all these difficult times we are living through and not being able to participate in temple services or Hebrew school, as you normally would have for the past 7 months, you did an absolutely fantastic job. As a matter of fact, in the words of Bob Weir, you did everything just exactly perfect. Your Torah portions are truly fitting for these crazy times we are living in and your lives at this very moment. Gabe, your portion was the very last portion of the Torah, and Maddie, yours was the very beginning. We are all very hopeful for the end of this current pandemic we are living through, and hopefully for the beginning of a new beginning to our lives as we know it. Your B'nai Mitzvah represents the end of your childhood, your innocent years, and the beginning of your adulthood. You are now young adults.
This is hard to believe. All the years combined, they melt into a dream. It seems like yesterday that Mom called me up while she was at her OB doctor for an ultrasound and asked me if I was sitting down. I recall saying, "Why should I sit down? Is everything okay?" Mom said, "Trust me, sit down." So I sat down, and then she proceeded to tell me we were having twins. She asked if I was okay as I dropped the phone and almost fell over. It was a good thing I was sitting down. In a split second, a million thoughts raced through my mind. We need to get a minivan. Our car isn't big enough. We need a second crib. We need 2 strollers and 2 high chairs. They both can't fit in the little bedroom we planned. And, of course, I can't retire until I'm 75. And so, Mom gave birth to twins. And we didn't sleep for weeks. And you both screamed and yelled and cried. Come to think of it, you never stopped yelling. Mom and I never thought we would survive those crazy years, but we did, and so did you. And you grew and grew through preschool, Williams Elementary School, T-ball, Little League, dance, trumpet, percussion, guitar, tennis, skiing with Dad, and into middle school. You got older, and we had bigger and bigger problems every year until now. In the words of the great Robert Hunter, and sung by the great Jerry Garcia many times, Mama, many worlds I've come since I first left home. Somehow, we've not only survived these crazy years, but you're here now at your B'nai Mitzvah, and you both did a wonderful job. Mom and I couldn't be prouder. Thank you all for attending the service, everyone who is here, everyone watching remotely. Thank you all who helped prepare for this service and make this happen. Thank you, Rabbi Liz. And most important, thank you to Nadine for all she did to prepare for this. No one put more time and effort into this than you did. In the words of the great late Jackie Gleason, "Baby, you're the greatest." Some final words of advice to you, Maddie and Gabe, on your B'nai Mitzvah. And these are in the words of the old sage, great Stephen Wright. Borrow money from pessimists. They don't expect it back. A clear conscience is usually the sign of a bad memory. And lastly, if at first you don't succeed, skydiving is not for you.
Thank you both for those beautiful words and also all you did to get Maddie and Gabe to this moment. Now it's my chance to get to say a few words to the two of you. I am so proud of both of you for reaching this important moment. As we talked about earlier this week and throughout this process, it has been far from easy for both of you, due largely to circumstances outside your or anyone's control. Everything you've achieved today is a testament to both of your dedication, determination, and the decision to keep going with something that was valuable to each of you and to your family. As we know, today is Simchat Torah, the holiday when we celebrate concluding one cycle of reading from our Torah and immediately beginning again. Gabe, you read to us from the last chapter of the book of the Torah of Deuteronomy. And Maddie, you read the very first words of our Torah from the creation story, Genesis. We end and we begin in one day within a matter of moments. Now, Jewish time is not linear. It doesn't move in a straight line. It is circular and cyclical. We see that here today. You stand on the shoulders of generations who came before you. In fact, your brother Alex had the same bar mitzvah date as you, Simchat Torah. What a special legacy and connection for your family, all three of you to share the same b'nai mitzvah date. And as I've shared with you, my bat mitzvah was also Simchat Torah. And today, I have the honor of passing on our Torah to you. In the opening words of Pirkei Avot, a book of wisdom collected by our ancestors, we read the following. Moses received our Torah at Mount Sinai and passed it on to Joshua. Joshua passed it to the elders. The elders passed the Torah to the great prophets. And the great prophets passed the Torah to the leaders of the great assembly. They then said, with that Torah, three things. Be patient when you deliver justice, raise up many disciples, and make a fence around the Torah. These are the words that I want to share with the two of you today, because we are the next links in that long chain of tradition. Because Torah, these Torahs, now belong to you. So the first message, be patient when you deliver justice. This is both a wonderful and a complex idea. First, it asks us to be patient. I think we could probably all use a little more patience right now, especially during social distancing and spending a little more time at home. Right, everyone? At the same time, I know that each of you have been so patient and diligent in your studies. But our ancestors go beyond that. They ask us to be patient in delivering justice. Here, we're encouraged to make the right decision and the fair decision, even if it takes some patience and time to get the answer right. I know that each of you and your whole family care very much about justice and treating all people equally. You both participate each year in our 50 food drive, in baking for Thanksgiving Angels, and other community service projects and events, making sure that each person has a fair chance and equal opportunities. I only hope that you will both continue to lead us in this way in your time at Temple and long into the future. So the next thing that the Great Assembly said was to raise up many disciples. Now, it may seem right now that the two of you are the disciples, the students, the newer links in our chain of tradition. This is true, although, as you know, here at Temple, our religious school meets in one K through 12 group. Now, in my third year at Temple, I have had the pleasure of seeing the two of you grow from some of the younger students in our school into the teen leaders of our community. Now our younger students look up to the two of you. Every thoughtful answer that you share, a kind word, just being present at services and programs and events, our younger students are always watching you, and looking to you as their role models. We couldn't be luckier to have you serve in that capacity in our community, now and for many years to come. And I know that you serve as role models in other parts of your life too. At school, on the baseball field for Gabe, or in the classroom for the younger students that you volunteered with, Maddie. You both carry yourself as role models, and everyone around you is better off for it. Now, the third thing that the Great Assembly said was to make a fence around the Torah. So that's a funny thing to think about literally, because our Torah isn't a tree or a house or a baseball field that needs a fence put around it. Making a fence around the Torah can mean valuing Jewish life and community and setting it aside as sacred. Both of you and your whole family, you guys just do this so naturally. You make time for temple events, holidays, and services. You set aside time for Jewish community. You put a fence around that time because you know it is holy and sacred. You make our temple and your involvement here a priority. And for that, our whole community is very blessed. Now, each of you embodies this teaching in your own way, to be patient when you deliver justice, to raise up many disciples, and to make a fence around the Torah. Gabe, you are kind, compassionate, and care deeply about others. I know this will continue to motivate your sense of justice in the world and the kind of leader you will be in the Jewish community and beyond. You so took to the character of Moses, and I know that you will be a Moses in your own right, wherever you choose to take your talents. And I hope that we continue to rib each other about our opposite sports allegiances for many years to come. Maddie, I don't know if you remember, but 2 years ago we sat together and worked on reading Hebrew letters together for the first time. Look at how far you've come and where you are now. You have worked so hard to arrive at this moment, and you truly made that fence around the Torah by carving out and committing time and energy to this process. When you put your mind to something, nothing stands in your way. We are so proud of the way you connected with your own voice and your own story through this experience, and truly made this a moment of breshit for yourself, a new beginning. So now if the two of you will come forward, it's my honor to give you our most ancient blessing. Wind. Let's not lose those. Okay. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God smile upon you and shine upon you. And may God give you the greatest gift of all, the gift of peace. Mazel tov. You guys can stay right here because we have some gifts for you.
No.
Gifts? Wow. Who knew that was going to be involved? Gabe, that's yours.
Thank you.
Maddie, that's yours. But let me show what's in it for Maddie. So in the envelope, you have your B'nai Mitzvah official certificate. You guys should sign that later since we couldn't do that together this
Okay.
morning. And also, you have a certificate that is good toward a trip to Nifty in Israel. So I hope you'll take that trip.
Wow.
And that comes to us from Pifty. Of course, Rachel Almania is sending you all best wishes and wishes she could be here to deliver that. So she sent me with that special message. And from the Women of Reformed Judaism, we have a Kiddush cup that they've presented each of you with to use on Shabbat. And I'm not going to take it out because it's very big. But in there from our Board of Trustees is also a Tanakh, a Torah. So even though you can't take these Torahs home, you can take home your own Torah. Congratulations
Wow.
to
Thank
both of you. So in the presence of our Torah, we offer a blessing for healing and strength. If there's anyone whose name you'd like to share for this blessing, I'd invite anyone who's here to do that now.
Michael Reed, Brian Greenfield, Poppy.
We think of all those in our community and in our entire world who are in need of healing. Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech et Chacholim. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, as together we say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, as together we say, Amen. We send blessings of healing to them all. I'll now invite Gabe up, who's going to lead us in the Aleinu as we move toward the conclusion of our service.
Aleinu ishabelach Adon hakol, v'atetzkiru aleotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishvechot ha'adama, shelo sam helkeinu chachem, vigor aleinu kechol ha'amonam, v'nafnu korim, Umishtrachabim umodim Lifnei melech malkei hamlachim Hakadosh Baruch Hu V'nemar V'haya Adonai Lemelech al kol ha'aretz Bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad.
You can remain standing, it's okay. Yeah. We're going to continue now with Mourner's Kaddish Yatom. We're on page 598. If there's anyone who you're thinking of whose name you'd like to share with our community so that we can honor and remember them, thinking about people who impacted us and passed us that chain of Torah in years past, I invite you to share their names now. We honor her memory and the memory of all our loved ones together with this prayer. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'gala uv'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran be'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing for us all. You can be seated, and Gabe is going to lead us on guitar in our closing song.
Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim bim bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
Is it?
Yes.
Minor.
Shabbat, Shalom. Hey, Shabbat, Shalom. Hey, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Hey, Shabbat, Shalom. Hey, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Bim, bam. Yeah, bim, bim, bam. Bim, 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 bam. Bim, bam. Bim, 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 bam.
It's okay.
Bim, 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 bam. Well, I couldn't see it.
Sorry.
Shabbat, Shalom, hey, Shabbat, Shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.
Mazel tov to you both and to your whole family. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. Thank you, everyone.